Hello and welcome to the latest MCSB podcast here at the University of Glasgow with me, Lucy Alford.
And me, Anir, Pandit.
And today we are joined by Mhairi Davidson, who is a third-year PhD student here at the University of Glasgow. Her research focuses on the plant protein TZP and how this protein works in conjunction with photoreceptors to change gene expression within plants in response to light. So hello, Mhairi.
Hello.
Hello.
So firstly, perhaps just to introduce yourself, you could just explain your research of your PhD in around 1 minute, just to make it sort of accessible to the general public.
Yeah. So a really short description is good. So I look at how different responses at the molecular level in plants are related to their development. In particular, we focus on ones triggered by light, be that different qualities of light, like different colours or different intensities. And also at different stages of the plant development. So starting from the very early, just after germination, the photomorphogenesis was the formation of the seedling. And I mainly focus on that stage, but we do go into the late stages of the adult plant and flowering. And for most of them we look at how this is regulated at the transcriptional level, different genes being turned on and off or up or down. Particularly TZP is my pet protein, as it were.
Interesting. Well, so before you considered doing a PhD, what was your educational background? What did you do before your PhD?
So actually, I was also here at the University of Glasgow. I did my first degree in genetics here, and during my PhD, some of your lecturers, you encounter the different things they research. In particular, in my final year, I took one of the plant options and met the person who's now my supervisor, Dr. Kaiserly. And it's when I started with the undergraduate degree, I didn't go into it knowing I wanted to do research and then for a PhD, but during the work, I realised this was something interesting. This was something I would like to do. And our teachers encouraged it if you showed you might be able to.
I think I was very similar to that, actually, in that I never realised I wanted to do a PhD, but I enjoyed my final year research project so much that I thought, wow, I can make this into a career. So then I went and did a master's, really decided that yes, I love conducting my own research, and then went down the PhD route. So interesting that you were quite similar. Similar to that.
So because I'm on a PhD doctoral training program, I didn't do a master's first.
Okay.
At the start of my PhD, I had 2 rotation projects with different labs. Sort of the length of the short master's projects you would do here, but they don't. So no masters, but.
And were both those projects in plant sciences then?
No. So the first was with Irini, on a similar project to my PhD project, and the second one was in microbiology with Andrew Rowe, and that was looking at trying to monitor when you have a pathogenic E. coli bacteria and it infects a human cell. And in this case, we were doing it all in cell culture, so it was HeLa cells, and trying to tag a protein in the bacteria and follow it with microscopy into the human cell.
Wow.
Obviously, it didn't manage to do that, but I was working towards that. It was also a good project.
Yeah,
I had to pick one.
Yeah, that's a great opportunity then to try your hand at quite different areas and then choose what you like.
Do you get a chance to choose when you're doing your rotations?
Yes.
With what particular subjects you want to do, which particular topics you want to do?
So the way it works here at Glasgow, so this is the MVLS doctoral training program, is you apply just for the program. When you're going through the interview process, you don't have to specify the project, although if you have contacted a supervisor here about a particular project, that's fine. And then when you register, we do the induction, you get a list of anyone in the college who would like a PhD student and has a project that would fit this program, because the PhD project is then only 3 years without and I think when I saw it there was something like 90 projects on the list.
Wow.
Okay.
And And it's joint with there are some projects on there that are based at Strathclyde University and a few at the Pirbright Institute, which I think is mainly viral research. So it's a great opportunity to see how it would be to work in something that's might be quite different than you have done before, without committing to a 4-year PhD.
I think that's interesting that you can actually, before you start on something which is going to make your career, have a chance to decide whether it's right for you or not.
Yeah. I think particularly because I didn't do a master's, it was really important that there was some kind of rotation part to my PhD.
Yeah. Well, given that you will be completing your PhD in another year or so?
I have a year of funding left.
Okay.
But the final thesis deadline is a year and a half away.
Right. Okay. So what would be your long-term career plan? Eventually after.
Right now I don't have a plan as such. I'm looking into different ones. Obviously one is to stay in research, to go along the path to be an academic, which would probably start with a postdoc. And I think the only thing I'm doing for that at the moment is thinking about what conferences I'd like to go to, whose work I would like to talk to them about. Probably plants if I was doing that, but I don't know. It doesn't have to be. I think if I did want to change area, probably after the PhD, before you get too far into it, would be a good time to do that. But I don't know. And the other things I've thought about are I really enjoy teaching. I get to do a lot of work as a graduate teaching assistant. And actually, so back to before I decided to do a PhD, when I started my first degree, I wanted to become a biology teacher in secondary school.
Okay.
So that is still an option, but there's now other options as well.
Of course.
Those are the two I've thought about, but I wouldn't say either is a plan at the moment.
Just go with the flow and see where life takes you. It's good though, because you're obviously thinking quite strategically about this, with looking at conferences and trying to figure out whose research inspires you and who you would like to eventually work with or collaborate with. And I think that shows a level of sort of I think that forward planning is quite important in scientific careers, because you don't want to make the mistake where you get to the end of your PhD and think, what's next? Yeah. You want to be ready thinking of the next route, and if that is a postdoc like you're doing, start thinking about, okay, well, who would I like to work with? And I think for me, academia has always been something that I feel that it's a very steep learning curve, and often you find yourself learning things as you go along. So I think it's very good to be more switched on earlier on in your career and know what you should be doing for the next stage. So I think it's good that you're thinking that. So what actually attracted you to plant sciences then? Given that you had this lovely opportunities to work with sort of E. coli and different projects, so why did you choose plants?
So I think when I was choosing my PhD project, it wasn't just the project I was thinking about. I was thinking about my supervisor and their group, what they would like to work with. I was a little bit biased to that project going in because I had already contacted Irini about it. I'd already met her as a lecturer. It was interesting. I don't know. Although I do like working on it. I think if I had picked a different project, I would also be interested in that. So I'm not going to say it's not specifically plant sciences, but it didn't have to be.
But I think what you say about the importance of the sort of research environment, I think when I was looking to do a PhD, people would always tell me that this is going to be perhaps a very stressful period in your life. You need to have that support network as well. So always make sure that you're taking a PhD in, whether it's a lab, a city, a country that you feel happy with, and that you're going to have that support network when things maybe get a little tough and don't go to plan. So I think that is is a good, the fact that you thought beyond the project into that sort of social aspect as well, I think is an important factor to consider.
Yeah. So when I was doing the 2 rotations, although they were both here at Glasgow, I didn't do one at Strathclyde or the Pirbright. They were in different institutes, and although when I started the PhD, I didn't really know about the 7 different ones within the college. There is it's slightly a different environment, just the way things are organised, the people. So like this was based in another building with really long labs where lots of people you feels a bit crammed in, but it's not because there's not a lot of space. And it's just a different environment. To me, the other one felt more stressful, but maybe that's just because the people I was working with were stressed at that particular time I was there, so I don't want to say that's a general thing. But that also contributed to it.
Yeah.
Cool. Right, so going back to being a PhD student, what skills do you think are integral to being a successful PhD student? How do you measure your success as well? Yeah.
I don't know how I would measure success, but I mean, other than feedback from the people you work with, if they're not telling you, "Oh, are you sure you should be doing this?" No, I think one of the skills that's important is kind of 2 sides of one thing. And one side is perseverance and keeping going with something, because it's the first kind of project you get to work on where things are going to fail. The projects you do before it, the short-term ones, things might go wrong, but they kind of know where they're going. And on the other side of that is not trying to be perfect, not just trying to perfect something. If it's not working, then maybe you need to change what you're doing. Those 2 sides of it, and talking to other people who've like other students in the lab or a postdoc in your lab who have been there longer about those are really helpful. Other than that, sort of general, not so specific skills are sort of to do with communication. So presenting your work and writing about it, even developing writing skills that aren't to do with your PhD project but allow you to express yourself are really important. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Cool.
So following on from that, how do you personally maintain, well, if you do successfully maintain a balanced work-life balance and essentially keep your sanity during your PhD?
I think knowing other PhD students and discussing with them about it, and even having people stop you and say, "Hey, don't come in this weekend," is helpful. And also having things that are nothing to do with your PhD. Like I like sports, so I'm a fencer, and there's a university club here. And although it's mostly undergraduates, it is still a nice break.
So keeping your mind on the PhD and keeping your mind off the PhD.
Yeah, not letting it be on your mind the whole time, but when you are working on it, staying focused. And
being organised and disciplined in your own way.
If I could have a switch, that would be great. PhD on, PhD off.
I always found being an undergraduate and as a postgraduate, I would have friends that would just pull all-nighters, whether it was revising or writing reports all throughout the night. And I've never been able to do that. For me, my sort of downtime, if you like, is so important. And even now, it will be like, right, come this time, I want my evening. I go off and veg out in front of the TV or go for a walk. I just need to switch off. So I can safely say that I've got to my postdoctoral level in my career having never pulled an all-nighter in my life, because my evenings and my sleep are just too important to myself.
I think now, I try and do something similar, but during my undergraduate I was one of those binge writers. I think that's a good way to describe it, sort of rather than sort of breaking it up properly, the way you kind of, when you eventually do sit down to do it, you realise this would have made more sense, but now I'm on the clock and just blurt it out. Yeah. And I think it was important to realise early on my PhD that wasn't going to work. Yeah. I could continue to do it. I knew I was able to work like that, but that would have completely destroyed any balance between my PhD and the rest of my life. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, that's great, because this leads on to my next question, which is any advice for people who want to do a PhD, both on the terms of actually doing the PhD and then also balancing their life with the PhD. So would you have any advice for them?
I think for people wanting to do a PhD, if you've decided you do want to do it, I think it's more difficult to know if you haven't decided if you do or you don't, but if you do, it's important to look into the project, the supervisor, and what else is going on your life at the same time. Like, there's some points, even if a PhD is right for you, it might not be right at that time. And I think particularly if you can, I think the program I did with the rotations helped in that I got to work with my supervisor before starting the PhD, both just day to day, meeting about the project. We write a report, so we get to see what it's like, writing drafts and editing and taking on criticism. So if you do have some way to work with them before, like if you're an undergraduate and you're able to do a short, even just a very short summer project with someone you're interested in working with, that will help you make up your mind. Or just generally talking to people who are PhD students.
So approachability to essentially the person you want to work with.
Yeah, I think that's really important.
Yep. Yeah. And they can also guide you correctly, and they can probably judge you correctly. And say, you're probably good for this, or I think you should go somewhere else. So you get probably good advice from the person you want to work with as well. And,
Or even if you do and you realise, okay, I do want to do a PhD, but maybe not in this area or with that person. That's also good experience to get. Yeah.
I think as well, in science generally, I think it shows the importance of like networking. I think networking is vital for scientists of all stages, whether you want to get a feel for who's out there and who you want to work with or collaborate with. I think networking is absolutely vital to a career in science.
Yeah, one of the things I got to do before I'd even applied for the PhD was we took part in the iGEM competition, which is a project you do as an undergraduate with a group of other undergraduates. And although you usually don't achieve very much because you don't really know what you're doing, you have some support, but it's supposed to be your project. That also meant I got to meet academic staff and talk to them, because we had things like ask for help with finding equipment or using it, and we also got to, because they're at the end of iGEM, there's a conference you all go to, we presented our talk to some of the academics at the Institute before we went and got to talk to them about our project, and that was really helpful in meeting different people. So at this point we were third year undergraduates. That was an opportunity for us to network. That was how I met other people here.
Fantastic. Okay, so we're just going to bring everything together now in a quick fire round just to learn more about you. So firstly, favourite food?
Oh, probably macaroni cheese. Big and cheesy and lovely. Oh yes.
Typical student meal there.
Is that made by you or made by mum, sort of thing?
Oh, my dad makes a really good macaroni and cheese. My mum's is alright, but my dad's is perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hope you're not listening, Mum.
Right, your favourite book?
Ooh. I love reading science fiction, fantasy books, and at the minute I'm going back to Terry Pratchett books. I don't think I could pick one, but the first one I read was Mord, so I'm going to say that one. But hard to pick a favourite.
Okay.
Favourite city?
I'm I mean, I've never really lived in or within Glasgow. I've visited a few places, but yeah, I do. Probably Glasgow.
Glasgow.
Yeah.
Glasgow is a great
Yeah.
city. There's so much,
We love
so
hard
much
Glasgow.
go over it. We do hard Glasgow. Favourite film?
Ooh. My favourite one recently, I got around to watching Interstellar finally, or when everyone was like, "Oh, this is really good, you have to," and it was like, "Oh, it's okay. It'll be one of those sci-fi ones where some things don't work and they try and." But it was really engaging. You felt like you were part of it. That was good.
Cool. It's got the meme as well, the Interstellar, where 1 year here
Yeah.
and 7 years there.
Yeah,
There's a PhD meme on that. I can't remember what it is.
How long does your gel take to run?
Yeah, exactly. Something like that, yeah. Okay. Favorite TV program?
Probably at the minute RuPaul's Drag Race.
Okay.
Yeah.
Favourite pastime or hobby? Although we've heard that you like fencing, so...
Yeah, I do enjoy it, but probably reading.
Okay.
Yeah.
Avid reader.
Yeah.
Going back to fencing, did you do competitive fencing?
Yes, yeah, I
And
did.
was that from school or just?
Yeah, from school. I was much more involved in school than when I started university. Yeah, it was really good.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Schools in Glasgow have fencing. That's.
Yeah. Well, originally I'm from Helensburgh, but I did have to come to Glasgow.
So did you go to school there then, or did you go to school here?
I went to school in Helensburgh,
Oh,
but I
okay.
would come up to Glasgow to the Glasgow High School down in Annisland.
Yep.
It was the closest one to us.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because my daughter goes to Kelvinside Academy,
Oh, cool.
and her best friend goes to Glasgow,
Yeah.
high school of Glasgow. So yeah, cool. What is your claim to fame?
So, unfortunately, this doesn't run anymore, but there used to be a thing called the UK School Games run by Sainsbury's, and it was like a multi-sport event meant to feel like a small Olympics. I think they did 18 sports,
Oh, okay.
and it would be run in different years in different parts of the country. So I got to go twice for the Scottish fencing under-18 team.
Wow.
Once to Sheffield and once to London. So that was in my final year of school. Last year I could have done it. We were in one of the venues that they were going to, well, the Olympic Games were going to be in.
Oh, okay,
so
okay.
I could say claim to fame. I've competed in an Olympic venue.
That's very
That's-
exciting.
Yeah.
We like that.
That's awesome.
Okay, so what did you want to be when you grew up?
Ooh. Before I went into science, I wanted to be an architect. I thought that would
Okay.
be really fun.
Cool.
I liked drawing things.
Mhm.
I liked I liked making houses on The Sims. But then during school we got to do work experience, and you go and shadow someone for a week, and I didn't like it. To be
Okay.
honest,
Oh.
it was a lot of talking to people about what they want, and they don't know what they want.
Right.
And yeah. Looking back now, I probably would have still enjoyed it, but at the time it was very different from what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, no, not for me.
Which comes back, well, the next question would be, if you weren't a scientist, what would your alternative career be now that you know?
Ooh. I could do something very different, like beekeeping. I don't know.
That would be exciting. Beekeeping, yes.
Yeah.
Sherlock Holmes did that when he retired.
Yeah.
Still can happen.
Yeah.
Cool.
Wonderful. So thank you very much, Mhairi.
Thank you
And
for
that
having me.
concludes our
Thanks.
podcast. So see you all in the next podcast.